Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's session on the Veteran Small Business Certification. Really appreciate you all joining us today for this great information that will be shared, but also as we celebrate National Veteran Small Business Week. It's such a great opportunity for us to, as a small business administration, to recognize the impact that our veteran small business owners have on our economy, on our economy, and just how you continue to contribute in many ways beyond your initial service. My name is Bo Steiner. I'm the district director for the Small Business Administration here in the state of Illinois. I am a Navy veteran as well, so it's really great to be able to be here and celebrate Veterans Day and National Veteran Small Business Week with all of you. I think you're going to enjoy today's session as we bring the foremost expert on the migration of CVE from the Veterans Administration to the SBA. And I'll talk about Mr. Stubblefield here in a moment, but you have a tremendous advocate at the SBA for bringing this work to this agency. So super excited for the content and what we're going to talk about today. And without further ado, because I think you're all here to listen to Larry and not to me, I'm going to go ahead and I'd like to introduce my colleague, Larry Stubblefield. For those of you who do not know Larry, he is the Associate Administrator for the Office of Veterans Business Development at the U.S. Small Business Administration. So he is focused day in and day out in his day-to-day work on supporting veteran small business owners, including the Boots to Business program for transitioning veterans, including the reboot sessions for those veterans that maybe have already transitioned but are looking to get into entrepreneurship. So real focus on supporting you as veteran business owners. I think it's notable that Larry's been with the SBA for nearly 7 years at this point, but prior to coming to SBA, he held numerous leadership positions in the U.S. Army, including Deputy Assistant Secretary of the Army for Diversity and Leadership. More so, though, he has firsthand military experience, having served 30 years as an enlisted soldier and active duty officer in the U.S. Army, retiring as a colonel prior to his appointment as a senior executive in the federal government. He's a recipient of Distinguished Presidential Rank Award and, again, just brings a wealth of experience to the table as he advocates for each of you as small business owners in making sure that SBA, as we take on the veteran certification, we do it in the most effective way possible. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Larry to go ahead and he has a series of slides that he'll talk about the certification. Larry.
Thank you, Bo, for that warm introduction, and happy National Veteran Small Business Week to all of you. And as Bo indicated, I'm here to talk about the Veteran Small Business Certification Program. We have been working very hard over the past 2 years with the VA to make this happen. And as I speak here with all of you today, we are very confident that come 1 January 2023, we'll have the new program stood up at SBA. So I want to go to the first slide, if you will. And just by way of a little background, a little history, the National Defense Authorization Act in 2021 required VA to transfer the Center for Verification and Evaluation, those responsibilities to SBA, and for SBA, for us to establish a government-wide certification program. As it stands right now, the only certification program, if you will, is at the VA. And if you're a veteran small business owner and you're doing business with the VA, you have to go through their the CVE program. For the other 23 agencies, we've been operating with self-certification being the rule of law, if you will. So here's the bottom line with this transfer. The bottom line is that over time, self-certification is going away. We are going to do away with self-certification. SBA's program, the Veteran Small Business Certification Program, will be the door you come through if you want to do business with the federal government in the procurement space. So CVE is the VA name. Our administrator decided here recently to name our program the Veteran Small Business Certification Program. And the final bullet I have here on the slide just talks about the rule. We are in the rulemaking process right now. I want to thank all of you who turned in comments. You know, we went through the public comment period this summer, got quite a few comments. And our administrator, Administrator Guzman's guidance to all of us is that, first of all, that the Veteran Small Business Certification Program will be a program, you know, strictly focused on veterans. When we stand this program up, it'll be informed by veterans. We have a veteran business owner building our new system. So the bottom line is, you know, this is a veteran focused program, and we are well on our way to having it stood up. So come 1 January 2023, for the first time ever, we'll have all small business certification programs at SBA. You know, so we're talking about the 8A, VOSB, a hub zone, and now the service disabled veteran-owned small business program. I'll talk a little bit more about the rule and some of the changes that we're looking to implement a little bit further in the presentation. So on the next slide. So what does this mean? What does the change mean for veteran-owned small businesses as well as service-disabled veteran-owned small businesses? So a couple of points that I want to make here, and that is, number one, if you're VA certified as of the transfer date, it is our administrator's intent to grant a 1-year extension to your certification. In other words, if the certification period is for 3 years, and if your certification expires in March of 2023, on a one-time basis, we're going to extend it to March 2024. And the reason for that is twofold. Number one, we want to focus on new applications. The administrator she's discussed a lot here recently, her desire to build the pool of you know, small businesses participating in federal contracting. Over the last 10 years, we've seen a steep decline in the number of small businesses participating in federal procurement. And of course, you know, that has an adverse impact on the industrial base. So we want to focus on getting the new applications, and we know that there's like about 25,000 or so self-certified business owners in SAM, and so we're hoping and anticipating that we'll have an increase there. So not to focus on currently certified firms, but to have the focus on new applicants, and then we want to ease the transition period, you know, our way through the transition period. So if you're certified, VA certified as of the transfer date, 1 January 2023, you're going to automatically, there's nothing for you to do, you're going to automatically get a 1-year extension on your certification. So the next, now this one here, I'm going to say this, but this may change. But if you're a VOSB or a SDVOSB with your certification will expire before the 1 January 2023 date, what we're recommending as I speak is that you take the next steps to you know, go into sam.gov DSBS and register as self-certified so that you can continue to be able to participate in federal contracting. And the reason why I say this may change is because we're working with the VA right now as we speak. The VA put out a notice last month that said on the 24th of October, that was the last day that you could turn in an application to VA. So they've pretty much shut down taking applications. They do have, as of that closure date, they had close to or a little bit over 1,000 applications in the queue. They're working very hard now to get, to clean up those applications, process them. But there's a possibility that there may be some still in the queue, and this is one thing that we're going to have to work through with the VA. What will be the status of applications that are still in the queue, close of business 31 December? Will we transfer them over to SBA? How will that work? But for right now, what we're saying is that if you are in that category where your certification has expired before the 1 January 2023 date, make sure that you're self-certified, in SAM, so that you can continue, participating in federal procurement. And then the last category here, or the last thing on this page that I want to just talk about, is the fact that the legislation mandating this transition grants a 1-year grace period for self-certified SDVOSBs until 1 January 2024. So what this means is that you can retain your self-certification. You can continue to compete for government contracts, be awarded government contracts from 1 January 2023 to 1 January 2024 in a with your self-certification status. But after 1 January 2024, to compete and receive a contract, you will have to be certified through the SBA. So what we're recommending is that between in that grace year period, 1 January 2023 to 1 January 2024, that you submit your application through SBA for your certification, because the legislation allows you to continue having the ability to compete and receive government contracts until your application is acted on. So if it's February 2024, you put your application in during the grace period, you can, and we haven't made a determination, God forbid, we have a gigantic backlog and it's taken us a while to work through applications. If you put your application in during the grace period, you will be allowed to retain your self-certification status and continue to compete and be awarded government contracts. So, so please, look at the category that you're in, and take the appropriate steps to make sure that you are still eligible to compete for government contracts. All right, so on the next slide, I'll just talk a little bit about where we are currently with the transition. So I'll start with technology first on the right-hand side there. So our Administrator Guzman, elected not to bring over the VA's processing system, their Veteran Enterprise Management System that they use for processing applications. Instead, she elected to build our own system at SBA, and we're in the middle of the tech bill as we speak. It's going very well. And the reason why the administrator made this decision is with this transition and standing up, the Veteran Small Business Certification Program, the platform for the Veteran Small Business Certification Program will be the first platform, if you will, that's going to be I should say, the first certification platform that's going to be launched on a greater platform known as MySBA. So the goal is we're going to start with a veteran small business certification program on this platform, and then I mentioned the other certification programs. They'll be on the platform as well, and our lending programs. And for the first time ever, what we're aiming for is a better customer experience and the use of a single portal. If you think in terms of something like Google, for example, a customer can go through a single portal and access all of Google's products and services. We're going to do the same thing at SBA. We currently have numerous lending programs, certification programs, but there's various avenues to access those programs. We are going to move forward with MySBA, and again, this is going to allow small business owners to be able to access all of SBA's certification and lending programs. And one of the example of the better customer experience that this will provide. We have heard over the years numerous times when small business owners have come in and they've said, for example, last year I applied for the women-owned small business certification, and I've got that certification. Now I would like to get an additional certification, and you're asking me for the same documentation that I provided, for the women-owned small business program. Well, with MySBA, we're going to do away with that. A business owner will be able to come in, establish their profile, upload their documents, and with the bringing on the Veteran Small Business Certification Program, we're going to look at greater reciprocity, if you will, between the other certification programs. So in other words, using this same example, if an applicant, a veteran woman-owned business wanted to apply for her VOSB, Women-Owned Small Business Certification, will be able to go into MySBA and apply for it. And at the same time, if she would like to have her VOSB certification, we'll be able to do that, during this same time. And so what we will do is reach out to the VA and ask two questions. Number one, is this a veteran? Yes. Number two, is this a service-disabled veteran? Yes. And both of those certifications will be awarded at the same time. And oh, by the way, if the business owner would like to, explore lending options and things of that nature, she'll be able to do that as well. So we're very excited about, establishing the Veteran Small Business Certification Program, and really excited about, the benefits of MySBA. On the personnel front, we have heard nothing but great things, from the veteran small business community in terms of the VA, the CVE, how it currently operates, and especially they get high points or high marks, if you will, for customer service, the amount of time it takes to process an application. So what we're doing in terms of personnel, the legislation allows for the VA employees, they gave them a choice. They could either stay at the VA, the current CVE employees, or they could transfer to SBA. We're very pleased that the CVE staff has agreed to come over to SBA. In fact, we've gotten their director over now. We're migrating a couple of more folks over. But the bottom line is the VA employees are coming over. So, the way we're looking at it, there's no sense in, reinventing the wheel. You have people who are established. They're out there working with the veteran small business community. And so we're very pleased in that regard to be able to retain that staff in this space. On funding, this program the legislation, came about without funding, but we've we've been very successful. And the reason why I bring this up is because I know through the veteran service organizations and others, the attention that's been given on funding for the transition. We've gotten the funding now. We've worked very hard with OMB, with Congress, and with the VA. And so funding is not an issue. And so the last thing I'll focus here on policy. And, I mentioned the rule. So the rule, the requirement for the rule to be in place by 1 December is our focus right now. The law says the final rule has to be in place 30 days before initial operation. So that's 1 December, looking at a 1 January 2023 start date. So we're aggressively working the rule. So everything that I'm saying here now is tentative, because until the rule is finalized, this is still not baked in stone yet. So here's how we're looking at the Veteran Small Business Certification Program. First of all, we're still going to have a 3-year certification period. And I know, there was quite a few comments on extending that period. Some folks thought maybe 5 years, some thought 10 years. Even had a few comments saying, why should we, even be concerned about recertification and things of that nature. But we're going to still have a 3-year certification period. We're going to have a lighter review. And when I say a lighter review, depending on the type of company you are, sole proprietor, LLC, et cetera, there's going to be the requirement for documentation is going to be between 2 and maybe 8 to 10 documents. And again, this is listening to the veteran small business community talking about the large amount of documentation required to get a CVE certification. We're gonna take a lighter review approach, if you will. Things like proximity, that is out. Good character is another thing that we're going to take a different approach on. In other words, if you're on parole or probation or incarcerated, should that be in the way of you being able to obtain a certification? We don't believe so. We think this is more of a responsibility call for contracting officers. So good character, we're looking at that a little differently. I mentioned reciprocity between the programs, aligning the certification programs up, with the same regulatory rules and processes and things of that nature. We're looking at joint ventures a little differently. Joint ventures will not go through the CVE, or I shouldn't say the CVE, the Veteran Small Business Certification Program. Joint ventures will be more of the managing partner signing a series of attestations that will align them up, to be in the position to compete for government contracting, but it will not be part of the Veteran Small Business Certification Program. And then the last point that I would make is that, as many of you know, a few years ago, there was legislation that was passed that allows veteran business owners access to government surplus property. With the new Veteran Small Business Certification Program, we've retained the ability to help veteran small businesses go through the process to get the access to surplus property. So on the next slide, I would just talk about here real quickly additional information. So we have an advisory committee in the Office of Veterans Business Development. The committee meets quarterly. It consists of 8 veteran small business owners and 7 veteran service organizations. Our next quarterly meeting will be on the 8th of December, as indicated on the slide. a significant portion of the time during our advisory committee meetings, we talk about the transition, provide updates and things of that nature. This is a public meeting, meaning anyone can come. So we welcome you to attend our advisory committee meetings to learn more about what's going on with the transition. And then the last bullet there just talks about our the CVE transfer at SBA.gov. So we do a monthly update, if you will, that we mail out of our mailbox here. But the CVE transfer at SBA.gov is a way to get additional information as well as sign up for that monthly update that we mail out. And then with that, on the next slide is just my contact information. As Mr. Steiner indicated early on, this has been my project now since January. And so on the next slide, this just talks about how you can reach out to me and folks in my office at SBA.gov/OBBD or SBA.gov, /veterans. So I will stop right there to entertain any questions that anyone may have in terms of the transition. But again, we're working very hard to get this done, and we are very confident that we're going to have a first-class program up and running at the beginning of the new year.
Awesome, Larry. Thank you so much. Really, I think great information for everybody to have here, and definitely prompted a lot of questions that we can handle. I think the first thing that this has come through in a number of different cases is the kind of various use cases related to, hey, my CVE expires this date. What do I do? My CVE expires, like that whole table that you went through. So hoping that we can I thought maybe we could go back to that slide just to revisit that one more time, just to get clarity on that.
Yeah. Yes, I was going to ask you, can you put that back up? Yeah, thank you.
There we go.
Okay, so, all right, so for that first one, I'll give another example. Like, if you, like the VA, it's a 3-year certification period, and we're going to have the same. It's going to be a 3-year certification period. And if you're certified at VA, you're automatically going to come to SBA. So if you got your certification in 2021, like last year, it's a 3-year certification, meaning your certification period would end in 2024. There's absolutely nothing for you to do. You don't have to do anything. And on top of that, with the administrator's intent to grant a 1-year extension, you actually don't have anything to worry about until 2025. So if you're VA certified as of the transfer date on 1 January 2023, it is the administrator's intent to grant a one-time only 1-year extension for your certification. So that's the first example. And then the second one, where we talked about if your certification expires before 1 January 2023, we're going to have to do a little bit more research and discussions with the VA, because the VA, they had, as I mentioned earlier, with that 24 October cutoff date, they're working through about 1,000 applications right now. And in fact, I've had a couple of business owners reach out and say they missed that 24 October date. What can they do? So what we're telling them to do is, you could go into sam.gov, and make sure that you're still self-certified, and that because of the 1-year grace period with self-certification, that would allow you 1 year to get your application into SBA, and at the same time you can still compete for federal contracting opportunities. But I said we're going to have to go back and speak with the VA, because one thing that's becoming clear, if you've made the 24 October suspense date, and then the VA, for some reason or another, hopefully this won't be the case, but they get to 31 December, their general counsel has come out with a decision that the legislation doesn't allow them to do anything after the sun goes down on the 31st of December. So hopefully they'll be able to process those applications, and maybe it'll only be a handful that we would have to look at, because the one thing we don't want to do is have veterans apply twice. That is not customer friendly at all. So we need to look at, what's going to be left in that VA pipeline. But say, for example, like I just said, if, setting the VA pipeline aside, if your self-certification or your VA certification expires before 1 January 23, and you're not, the VA is not taking care of you, or you didn't apply through them, go ahead on and self-certify, and then put your application in when we stand up our program in 1 January 2023. And remember also that I said we're taking a lighter approach. We don't want to be, we're not going to be asking for, a tremendous amount of documentation or anything like that. And we want to get you your certification as quickly as possible. And then that last area here just talks about the 1-year grace period for self-certified service disabled veteran-owned small businesses. And I just touched on that, with the previous example. But again, the legislation allows for a 1-year grace period, 1 January 2023 to 1 January 2024. You could still compete, but come 1 January 2024 and beyond, you have to be certified to be able to be awarded a set aside or a sole source contracting opportunity for SDVOSBs.
Awesome. So just a couple of examples I know people are throwing out. So if I don't expire till 2024 for my CDE, then is mine also extended that additional year?
Yes, if you're VA certified as of 1 January 2023, it is the administrator's intent to grant a one-time 1-year certification extension.
Perfect. Okay, that answers a lot of questions there. Now, the number of questions about, I think, the self-certification piece, and that's still done through sam.gov during the period within which self-certification is still authorized. So through the, up until January 1st of 24, correct?
Yes.
Okay, great. Is there a list of documents that applicants for the SBA's SDVOSB certification need to have ready or on the ready in order to apply?
Yeah, we are finalizing that list as we speak, and we plan at SBA, we plan to have a major rollout of the new program, in the first part of next month, first part of December. And then that information, we will share that at that time.
Got it. Now, if I'm a business and I am not currently SDVOSB, and I'm not CDE certified, will I have to wait until I get certified through SBA before I can compete for VA SDVO set-asides?
Yeah, nothing. Yes, that's true. Nothing is going to change for the VA. With the VA, currently you have to be certified. Whether you're, because the VA is the only agency that has authority to set aside or do sole source for VOSBs and SDVOSBs. And with the VA, you have to be certified.
Copy. So for those of you that are not yet CVE right now, as soon as SBA opens up that pipeline, you can go ahead and apply for that. And then, whatever period of time it takes to get certified through the SBA process, then you'll be eligible for those VOSB and SDVOSB set-asides at the VA. Is that a decent synopsis of that, Larry?
It is, because the legislation has mandated to SBA that we will do VOSB and SDVOSB certifications for the VA, and SDVOSB only for the other 23 agencies.
Got it. So we have somebody that's asking about the language in the 38 CFR related to the Vet First Act that gives priority for VOSBs. Will that language change since SBA is now doing those certifications?
Well, the Vets First is still with the VA. We haven't, there hasn't been any discussions yet in terms of Vet First for SBA or any of the other federal agencies. But I will say that when I say we, SBA, our Office of Veterans Business Development, we're in contact with a number of the veteran service organizations, and especially at the American Legion, the desire to extend the Vet First program across the federal government, and particularly at DoD, is top of mind for a number of the VSOs. So I would just keep my eyes open, and if you have any contacts with the American Legion or the National Veteran Small Business Coalition, to just keep your eye on what they're doing, because this is something that they're thinking about and something that they want to make happen.
Got it. Okay. So we've been kind of mentioning the acronyms VOSB and SDVOSB, and I think you hit it on it a moment ago, but I just wanted to clarify. The VA is really the only one that does set-asides for veteran-owned small businesses and service-disabled veteran-owned small businesses. The rest of the federal government solely has that authority for service-disabled veteran-owned small businesses. I just want to share that and make sure that I got that right.
That is correct.
Yeah, perfect. Do you know right now, Larry, if somebody believes that they're certified, CVE certified, how they would, if they've lost their records or they can't find, when they got certified, is there somewhere where they can access that information at this point?
Okay, so I'll see if Nicole or Brian, they're on with me, if we can get the number for the VA call center, and we can put that in the chat. But like I said earlier, we're working very closely with the VA, and for every question that comes up about certification on their side of the fence, they're telling us to have the business owner call the VA call center.
Okay. Great. Let's see. So I think there's some questions about when you talked about MySBA, and so somebody asked, will MySBA replace certified.sba.gov? I don't know if you want to take that one.
Yeah, the answer to that is yes. I mean, we want to do away with all these multiple ways to access SBA programs, you know, and Administrator Guzman, you know, she's an entrepreneur herself. I mean, she grew up in her family, you know, were business owners. And so she tells us all the time that we need to be as entrepreneurial as the people that we serve. And these multiple ways of accessing our programs is not the way to go. This is her vision that by next year, 2023, that we have this, the summer of 2023, that we have My SBA stood up. And, you know, and it's exciting, and it's like coming to the 21st century. So, you know, absolutely, we're gonna replace some of these other systems and have a single customer-focused way of accessing SBA certification and lending programs.
Perfect, thank you. And I know there's questions about other contracting programs related to My SBA. I think we're exploring each, you know, as SBA is going through the My SBA process, really trying to make sure that, as Larry mentioned, looking at it from a customer orientation, and as those opportunities may exist, to incorporate all this stuff under one kind of interface for the user. That is the objective.
That is it.
Let's see. Trying to keep up with all the questions here. Yeah. Somebody asked, and I'm not familiar with this, will there still be a verification assistance counselors program? I don't know if that's for actually your disability rating as opposed to the certification process, but maybe talk about that later.
Yeah, so, and that's a great question. I'm glad I should have mentioned that earlier. So there's 3 contracts. The VA, the CVE currently has, the legislation allows for those contracts to move over, and one of them provides the resources for educating verification counselors. So now we're talking about, you know, the PTACs, you know, VBOCs, Veteran Business Outreach Centers, some SBDCs. And so the plan on our side is to bring those contracts over and to keep those programs, and especially the verification counselors, because the feedback that we received from the VA is, I forgot, is some high number, like 95% of the time, if you go to a VA verification counselor, you have a smoother way through the verification process. So the goal is to keep those verification counselors.
Awesome. Here's an interesting question about the surplus property piece. I guess according to one of our attendees, the GSA MOU to access surplus property references showing a CVE letter, and they're asking, will that be updated in some way, shape, or form, and or who is going to communicate that change to state agencies for surplus property?
Yeah, the surplus property piece, you know, we're picking that up because that was a responsibility of the CVE. So we're going to pick that up on our side of the house with the new program, and we will be working with GSA and the state property agencies as well.
Great. Let's see. And then just kind of keeps coming up, Larry, when will the new site go live for the SBA application process?
Okay, so we're looking at 1 January 2023 is what the law says, but it'll be somewhere in that week to first 10 days, if you will, of January. Because, and I'll explain that here a little bit. You know, I mentioned earlier that the VA employees are coming over, and so they're still at the VA right now processing applications after their 24 October shutdown, if you will. And they need to come over on our side, and we have a new system. We're doing demos with them now, you know, as we build the system, you know, so that they, you know, that they have some knowledge, but they still need to come over. We need to get them a little bit more acclimated, get them comfortable, get them, you know, situated at SBA. And so we may need a couple of days beyond the 1 January 2023 date, but we've been communicating this with the veteran service organizations and others, because, you know, we want to be completely transparent, you know, so we're in fact, this afternoon, we're meeting with, we have our monthly meeting with OMB. You know, we're talking with congressional staffers. We're letting everyone know that that it may not be 1 January, you know, on that exact date. In fact, that's a weekend date. 3 January is the Monday, but it's going to be very close to the first, in the first 10 days or so of January.
Awesome. Okay, great. So I'm going to tackle 2 more questions and then we'll start wrapping up here. So the first is, will there be, and you may have covered this, but I just want to reinforce it. Will there be a navigator, phone number, email, or somewhere else that a business can get assistance with applying through the SBA for these certifications?
Yeah, so once we get stood up, you know, we're bringing over the VA's call center. We're going to have, like I mentioned, the verification counselors, the PTACs, the procurement, what is that? Procurement technical assistance centers. They're going to be part of this. And, you know, we have 22 veteran business outreach centers around the country. A number of them are VA verification counselors. And so, yes, we do plan to make sure that there's, you know, resources available to help, you know, veteran small business owners, to include at the district offices. And I know we started the dialogue with the SBA 68 district offices yesterday. Was one discussion we had, but looking at the business opportunity specialists and then the veteran business development officers that are in the district offices, part of the rollout is going to be to you know, get them up to speed as well.
Great. And just from speaking as a district director for one of the districts, the Illinois district here, you know, I know that we have a team across the country that's excited to support applicants through this process. And we at SBA are using a whole of SBA approach so that hopefully there's no wrong door when you're seeking assistance. And if nothing else, you get pointed in the right direction as expeditiously as possible to help you through the process. Let's see. So one more question here. Let's see. I am not finding, you know, I know there's lots of questions in here. I'm not sure that I can find another one. We've got so many in the queue, but we'll do our best to answer some of these questions going forward. But I do want to thank you, Larry, for taking the time to run through all of this with everybody on this call today. I know, you know, this is really important to a lot of our veteran-owned small businesses that are looking to either maintain certification or get certification. So really appreciate you taking the time to spend with us today when there's a million other things on your plate. Do you have any last words that you wanted to share with the assembled group?
Well, again, thank you very much for having me here. And, in standing up our new program, what we're really, the ultimate goal is to increase participation in federal contracting. We are looking to broaden the pool, if you will. And I'll just close with, one thought. 10 years ago, there was something like 180,000 or so small businesses participating in federal contracting, and today it's less than 80,000. And we for fiscal year 21, there was across the federal government there was $24 billion in contract awards to service disabled veteran-owned small businesses. So there's work to do in the government. The government is the largest purchaser of goods and services in the world, and we would definitely welcome more participation from veteran small business owners in the federal marketplace. And we're here, as Mr. Steiner said, we're here, SBA, all of us, to help you, every step of the way of your entrepreneurial journey. So, keep us in mind if you're thinking about federal procurement opportunities. So thanks again for having me here. And again, happy National Veteran Small Business Week, everybody.
Thanks, Larry. And as we close out today's session, I would like to introduce the regional administrator for the Great Lakes region, covering basically the states surrounding the Great Lakes, Jerry Aglipai. She would just like to make a few comments about National Veteran Small Business Week and share her perspective as a White House appointee at the SBA and how important this project is. Jerry?
Thank you for that, Bo. Larry, thank you so much for taking the lead and presenting on this, for providing some clarity. As regional administrator, it is the commitment of the administration and, of course, as you heard Larry say, of the Administrator Guzman to fully support veterans, that single customer service focused, making sure that the Veteran Small Business Certification Program that the SBA is going to be housing and launching is successful. As Bo Steiner indicated, there is no wrong door, actually, that we want to make sure that veteran small business owners and service disabled veterans get the support that they need. It is our commitment with this transition to fully support veterans with the veteran small businesses and service disabled veterans to compete and make sure there's a level playing field to access federal contracts and grow their businesses, and thereby growing wealth in the community and supporting their businesses and employees and creating jobs. Thank you again, Larry, for this, Bo, also for facilitating this, and Brian Goodrow. We are very excited about this program at the SBA and supporting veterans. We have been engaged with supporting veterans this past week for National Veteran Small Business Week. And in closing, in honor of Veterans Day this Friday, please remember the veterans who have served us. Remember that we are here at SBA to continue to serve veterans as they also seek to support their small business entrepreneurship ventures as veterans in America. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Regional Administrator Aglipai. Really appreciate you being here today as well to help us celebrate. As we close, I just had a couple of things. One is, as you see on the screen, we do want to get your feedback. So if there are ways that we can be better, we encourage you to take this survey. And it should only take you a couple of moments, but that will help us continue to get better as we try to meet the needs of you as small business owners. Second piece is, I see many folks have asked if they could get the slides. Regretfully, we cannot share the slide deck itself. However, this presentation with Larry's discussion will be available for at least the next 30 days, probably longer, so that you can go ahead and replay it. When you do replay it, you can do it at double speed or you know, whatever works for you to get to the places that you need to, but you have maximum control in reviewing the content. And we will also go through many of the questions that we maybe couldn't get to. We'll go ahead and publish those and try to get those answered as well. So when you come back, you'll be able to see answers to your questions going forward. So anyway, I just wanted to cover that housekeeping. And again, if you do need local assistance, you can always find us SBA-wise, and especially the field organization at sba.gov/local-assistance. And you can find the SBA, you can find our funded resource partners who provide one-on-one technical assistance to small businesses at no cost to you. So really encourage you to take advantage of those resources as well. And with that, we'll go ahead and close out today's session. But again, thank you all for joining us today, and hope you all have a safe and enjoyable Veterans Day. Thank you all for your service.